Today's guest, we have the incredible wife of Dustin May, Millie May, which I love that your
Hi.
name kind of just flows. It's so cute.
Thank you, thank you. I get that a lot.
I'm sure it's so cute. So your husband plays for the World Series champions, Los Angeles Dodgers. He's amazing pitcher, which he just pitched the other day, Wednesday.
Yes,
Awesome game. And the
thank
game
you.
before, awesome game. So finally, we're doing good right now. Not that we weren't, but you know, we're in first place. So Millie's a Michigan native, a former college soccer and basketball player, and a graduate of Northwood University with a degree in international business. She's built a career in human resources, working remotely to travel with Dustin. And Millie is not just a supportive partner, but a rock star in her own right. Brave, faith filled, and down to earth. At least that's what you pair. That's why I wanted to chat with you. And today we'll dive into your journey and how you balance life in baseball and just overall family, because we know you guys are just a regular family at the end of the day. So, Millie, how are you and how's your day?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm great. I'm very happy to be here. Very grateful to be in LA. The guys are in New York right now, so I'm just kind of holding down the fort with our dog Woody here, but doing very well.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so I'm such a sucker for hearing where people are from. So naturally, I just shared you're from Michigan, but I love to hear about your life pre-Dustin, and yeah, just pre before him and baseball and all of that, and what made your early days special. What made you
Yeah.
you?
Absolutely. So I am from Michigan. I'm from a small town called Saginaw. That's where I grew up, went to high school. I was a soccer player, but not a basketball player, actually.
Oh, I
Just
bet
in
you
case
were. Was it
anyone
just
that I
for
went to
fun?
college with.
Oh, was it just for fun that you played?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
just for
okay.
fun. Basketball was
Okay.
just for fun, and I was
Got it.
not very good at
Oh.
basketball.
Okay, I already played basketball, so I was like, "Wow, she did 2 sports at colleges."
Oh my gosh. No, that'd be really cool though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I grew up in Michigan, spent a lot of time growing up with my grandparents. I lived with them for a while. So that was really a lot of fond memories that I have in Michigan of a lot of really awesome summers and then a lot of really, really cold and snowy winters, which I'm not used to anymore. So when I go back to Michigan in the wintertime, I'm like freezing, which
Do they
it
call
didn't
you
used to
like a
bother me at
wimp
all. Yes. Yeah.
and
They're like,
steamed out?
yeah, they're like, "You're from here," and I'm like, "I know, but it's been how many years? 8 years now." So, but yeah, I go back to Michigan, quite a bit, and, it's where my roots are, it's where I grew up, and I'll always have fond memories there for sure.
Oh, okay, so Dustin's not well, I just shared Dustin's not the only athlete in the house. You just shared
You give me too much credit.
Okay, but I love it because I grew up playing I only have brothers. So, naturally, growing up, it was either I had to go and then I'm the only granddaughter out of 11.
Okay.
So,
Oh, wow.
naturally, it was like I only had 2 options at birthday parties or any family function, and family was always over. So, it was go play with the boys, whether they're playing soccer, football, or basketball, or go hang out with my aunts and
Right.
hear whatever they're talking about, you know? So naturally, I always just said, okay, I'm going to go out there, you know? So I was this girly tomboy growing up. And then I was in gymnastics, ballet, soccer growing up. So I'm always interested in hearing the girls and how you got into sports.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny that you are the only girl because my family, we have no boys. So every single granddaughter, every single cousin, we're all girls.
Well, that's neat. I would have loved
Yeah.
a sister, a girl cousin, anything. Anything girly, I would have gravitated to.
Yeah, yep, that's how I was growing up with all girls for sure.
Wow. So you just naturally just liked sports? Did they all like sports or?
Yeah, my sister was a swimmer, and
Yeah.
then my older cousin, she was an amazing gymnast, and then I played soccer.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so then let's hear Dustin. How did you guys meet? Was it college or before that, after?
Yeah, so Dustin was drafted out of high school and graduated in 2016. I graduated in 2015, and my college was about a mile away from where he was playing low A for the Great Lakes Loons. And so we met in Michigan, and that was back in the day when Tinder was like the dating app. That like, I don't think it's still a big dating app, but we met on Tinder actually.
Oh, how
And I had
funny.
yeah, I had no idea about baseball. I just really liked Dustin's hair, so I sent him a message.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yep.
Did he have it long back then too?
Yes, yep,
Oh,
long,
I love that.
and it was, like, even more full because now he has kind of the sides shaved,
Yeah, I
so back
noticed
then
that.
it was yeah, back then his whole head was just so much red hair. My grandma has always, always loved red hair, so, I don't know, I guess that got passed down to me. I love red hair too, and so I saw him and I was like, "I have to send him a message," and then, we've been together ever since.
I love that. And was it a spark or did you know like this is the guy or
Yeah, yeah.
anything?
Definitely. I think actually a few years ago, Backstage Dodgers came to our house in Texas and asked Dustin a similar question. And he said the same thing, we went on our first date and we didn't obviously say this out loud, but both of us were just kind of like, yep, like this is it. This is the person I'm going to marry. And I think it's so crazy, but I think probably like a week after that, we were dating and he had kind of like a different, in the minor leagues, you always have kind of a different living situation, or at least back then they didn't provide housing. And I had open rooms in my house. I was living alone. So I was like, okay, well, you can just live with me. So we really have been dating and lived together since almost the moment we met, which is kind
Wow.
of crazy. I'm not saying everyone should do that, but that's what we did.
When you guys were so young, so I kind of felt like it's okay. It's not like
Yes.
you're older and just jumping right in,
Right.
still
Right.
kids. I love that. And so what was life navigating with this baseball player, especially being so young? Because you guys,
Yeah.
it seems like from hearing that, it seems like you guys were kind of just like both babies and just grew up together in this.
Definitely, and I think, that's something that, we share that's so special is we have, like, so many of our growing up years were spent growing, like, ourselves growing up, but also growing together, and, back then, when I first met Dustin, I knew absolutely nothing about baseball. I had grown up occasionally going to a Great Lakes Loons game, which was the Dodgers Low A at the time, and I didn't know the players on the team were like on their way to possibly being in the majors. I kind of just thought that maybe they were like, local people that were, good at baseball. Like I had no clue. I
Like
had absolutely,
a junior college
yeah,
type
yeah,
sport love.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest, I had so little knowledge about baseball that I don't even know if I really even thought about where did the Loons
Like,
players
where
come
is it gonna
from.
go? You're like,
Like I,
"I'm just here with my
yeah,
boyfriend watching his games."
yeah, so, then obviously that was, before meeting Dustin, I met Dustin, then I kind of started to understand, at first my parents, when I was, talking about Dustin to them, they had no idea about baseball either, so they were like, "Oh, okay, like, does he go to college or where does he play in college?" And I said, "No, he plays for the Great Lakes Loons. That, like, that's his job." And they were like, "Oh, like, okay, alright." Like, none of us had any idea. We didn't know that, Dustin had been drafted in the 3rd
Future
round.
or
Yeah,
anything.
no clue. I just knew I liked him and I was just along for the ride.
I love that. I remember, my friend Christina, she married Edgar Gonzalez. He played a little bit of baseball, for the Padres,
Okay.
and I remember she said that she picked up a book to figure out, she wanted to know all the plays and just learn the lingo, and back then, I liked sports and I liked baseball, but I think I was more of a casual fan, so to say,
Okay.
because I just didn't know the verbiage. I knew soccer and I
Okay.
knew other things like other sports, but baseball, I think it just felt so overwhelming for me that I never dove in into that part.
Mhm.
But then when I heard my friend Christina, I was like, maybe I should pick up a book. Not that I'm dating anyone remotely in baseball, but it just felt intriguing
Mhm.
just to learn and kind of be more aware of the sport in general and just to educate myself. So I love that you were just like naively just
Yeah. Yeah,
going
I
with
mean,
the flow.
it was to the point, like, when I would watch Dustin play for the Loons, when I first met him, I could not even tell you after, an outing, which wouldn't have even known the word outing back then, but, I wouldn't have even been able to tell you, like, did he do really good? Did he do bad? Did he kinda do I had
You're
no
like,
clue.
let me
So I was
look at
always
his face. Was
yeah.
that good or bad?
Yeah, so I was always just like, "Oh, great job, I had a great
He
time."
was like, no, it was he was actually horrible.
Yeah, so it's
That's
kind of
good
like
though too,
yeah.
because you're just innocently just being the supportive
Yep.
partner through you don't know good or bad, you're just there being supportive, so I love that.
Yeah, sometimes it's kinda like, ignorance is bliss. I wasn't stressed at all. I was always having a good time when he was on the mound because I didn't know what was going on.
I
Yeah.
really love that. That's the
But
that's the thing
I've
I've
come a long way. I've
oh,
come
yeah.
a long way, and, I definitely get a lot more tense now when he is
Oh,
pitching than
oh, I can
now that I
imagine.
know what's happening.
Yeah, I've been seeing, how the moments they zoom in on the family or the wife and
Mhm.
kids, you see it, and then you see the tears, like
Yep, yep.
Clayton's wife of when he's on the mound, and you even though we don't personally know you guys or know or are part of your lives, I think just because we see every season the trials and triumphs, the injuries, that we
Mhm,
just feel like a distant relative just cheering you guys on, and we understand the emotions of
mhm,
seeing your spouse on the field. It's like we and then we're wives as well, where we get that supportive and being so happy for your husband. So at least that's my perspective. When I see
mhm.
the wives shown or the parents shown, I always love that part. So what my next question was kind of like the same thing is what was life like for you and Dustin when so you talked about when you guys met and when he was in the minor leagues and then how was it transferring or transitioning to major leagues? And what was that moment like when he got like that call and it was official?
Definitely. So, the minor leagues as a whole, honestly, I have nothing to complain about. Those were really good times. We ended, our first apartment together was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I remember it was like a 500 square foot studio apartment that was $600 a month. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so expensive. We're going to have to budget, all this other stuff. And it's just, things that you experience as a young adult, that make you grow. And we were really fortunate to get to do that in the Dodgers farm system. And it was so exciting every time he would, be promoted to the next level. It's like, okay, we're one step closer to the big leagues. And that, of course, is always the goal for any player in the minor leagues. And, I remember when Dustin got the call, I was actually so he was in Oklahoma City. We were staying with one of his cousins. She was letting us, stay in a room in her house, which was so nice. He was on an away trip, and I was at home working, and he called me, and I had missed his call because I was in a meeting. So our meeting ended, like, a minute later. I call him back, um, and he said like, "Hey, I am going to LA in 3 days. Like, we gotta book your ticket." And so, one, it was so nice that we had 3 days notice because I know some people, it's like 2 AM and they're like, "Hey, you got a flight at 8 AM," which honestly is still super, super
Yeah,
exciting.
it's like, "Go, get out of
Yeah,
here. I'll meet you when I meet you." But
yeah,
yeah, but hearing 3 days, that's a
yeah.
good cushion.
Yeah, it was, but then also in a way, I, like, did not sleep for the next 3 days because I was so excited. So of course we call all our family, everyone books their flights ASAP, and since Dustin was on an away trip, I don't think I saw him until we were all in LA.
Wow.
Um, and then, his mom and dad were there, agent, the rest of our family, my mom, and my sister. And his debut day was truly amazing, probably one of my best memories in life.
Oh,
Because I had I'd been so lucky enough to see, a firsthand account of all of the time and effort and patience it took for Dustin to get there. And then just to be able to see all of those sacrifices pay off was just really beautiful. And, it was an amazing day. And I've just been so grateful ever since through all the highs and lows that, we even get to be here to do this.
that's amazing. I can't even imagine just having your husband or son experience that. I think
Hmm.
that's like a one of like a dream come true experience, so to say. Um,
Absolutely.
and so where's my next? Being a wife, as you said, through the highs and lows, we've seen him have an injury which completely broke my heart.
Hmm.
And then he had this fluke crazy lettuce that went to his esophagus. So, can you share a little bit about that? And then, more than anything, just share your part as a wife, because a wife's role isn't just cheering on. I mean, my husband's a school principal, and I know my sacrifice, so to say, which I gladly do. It's not a negative turn for me, but I gladly know that his life is like he wakes up 4 a.m. doing emails, and then he goes to our garage gym, works out, and then gets ready, leaves, and it's the end of the school year. So it's all last minute activities, meetings, graduations coming up. So I know right now it's like crunch time and I'm getting like little time with him. But then I know, okay, I'll have some time as soon as the summer comes. So, those are the sacrifices that we navigate as a married couple. And you navigate being supportive to and an anchor to your husband through all the highs and lows, but also like my husband isn't in the spotlight. He gets pressure from parents or teachers and staff, but he doesn't get like that magnitude of the public eye. And I know fans, I was talking with Alana Rizzo and we are talking about how sometimes fans can be pretty not so fan like. They're more absurd. But how do you guys navigate that, especially you as a wife? That was a big load.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay. Um, yeah, so as far as fans go, I try to look at it as they, for Dodgers, for example, like they love the Dodgers and they, want to see the Dodgers win. And so it's really disappointing for them when they don't. And, sometimes people get on social media and they say things that are obviously way off the wall and, not something that you would ever think you should say to someone. Definitely not something you would say in person. Um, and it's hard, but I think that at the end of the day, they're if a fan is disappointed and they're getting online and saying something, I think it's just important to remember like the player that made a mistake or the team as a whole, not winning, they feel that times 10, like they feel 10 times worse. So I think it's just kind of you have to be able to just stay level-headed and kind of drown that noise out. And just try to do better the next time and try your best to not let, something that someone's saying on social media affect you. But of course, that is way, way easier said than done. So it's just kind of a fine line of like, okay, yeah, someone said that to me online, but actually, like, we live in the real world and we can turn our phone off if we need to, or we can, shut that app down if we need to for a little bit. So, yeah, it really just comes down to basically being able to ignore it, work through it, and try to do your best and have a clear, level head every time you go out on the field, for sure.
And for you navigating as a wife, supporting Dustin through his injury and then the esophagus issue, how has that, because you literally saved his life when it came to the esophagus. Because we know husbands can be stubborn, men
Yeah.
are stubborn. So I can only imagine that you were practically probably had to drag him to the hospital to get seen. I know I probably would have with mine.
Yeah.
So, how has that been just through that part? 'Cause that's a lot on you and working and, the things that are typical task and role as a wife in general, and then throw in that. So, how have you been navigating that and sharing your ways of being a support system?
Yeah, during that time, I should say, I guess there's no one recipe to that. I guess, for us, it really just depends on the situation we're in. Um, Obviously, Dustin's esophagus injury was a lot different than any injury he had ever had prior. And that was something where I really just needed to stay calm and take it day by day. And sometimes during that, it was more so like taking it hour by hour, because when you try to look all the way to the end of something, it almost seems impossible to get there. And during, that type of injury, we really didn't even know what the recovery or what the end would even look like. So just kind of thinking about that too much was probably, going to be anxiety inducing. So I think throughout all of that, just trying to stay calm and create a plan and control what I control and leave the rest to God and trust that He has a plan for us that, um, that we're supposed to follow. And that's what we did. And we kind of, I told Dustin the other day, I was like, you literally like climbed out, you dragged yourself out of this giant hole that you didn't, put yourself in on purposely. And we don't really know, why things happen the way they do, but like look how far you've come and where you've made it now. And it hasn't even been a year since then. So there's a lot of gratitude there. And getting through that, we also really, really heavily relied on our village. So, our parents, our friends that came to help us, or even if I had to be at the hospital with Dustin, we had a friend that, would come over at the drop of a hat to stay with our dog, Woody, at night. So, we definitely didn't do it alone. And it was a long process to get here, but now that, we're kind of out of that, it's just a lot of gratitude and, remaining calm. If anything in the future ever happens, or even when we were in it before, just being able to be calm and not panic is what really, got us through some pretty tough times for sure.
That's amazing and such a beautiful way to go through anything in life. And so you mentioned God. How do you guys navigate faith on and off the field, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So Dustin and I are very, we definitely keep God at the center of our marriage, and that is where so much of us, all of us, me and Dustin, our grounding comes from, and everything goes back to Him. So even something as I say as simple, because for what we have been through, if Dustin has a bad outing, that is something that's like simple for us, right? We go back to God and we know that God has a plan. And we look to Him when, we're grateful for something. We look to Him when we're down and we need support. And just knowing that regardless of what happens, that's what God wants to be happening. And sometimes it's hard to, especially when Dustin was so close to coming back from his elbow issue and then the esophagus thing happened. It's almost like you want to look up at the sky and be like, God, like, why did this happen? But there's a rhyme and a reason for everything. And sometimes even when you're scared to, you just have to keep trusting in Him. And that's what we did. And by the grace of God, we got here and we really do owe it all to Him for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to a lot of people because I think that's just living faith is acting out faith
Mhm.
more than anything. Because, like you said, you don't know. Because when I had heard the story about the esophagus, I was because it wasn't that right before spring training or somewhere around
It
there.
was in July, so it was about
Oh,
a week.
oh,
Yeah, it was about a week before he was going to start his rehab starts in Oklahoma City.
yeah. When I had heard that, I'm like, man, poor
Mhm.
guy. Like,
Yeah,
just to get him on the
it
field.
was rough. Yeah.
I can imagine. So, well, we definitely have been praying for you guys and for his healing. For everybody, we hate to see any player down, regardless, even though we're Dodger fans, we don't want to see any player get hurt because you'll see highlights on sports shows when they show other
Mhm.
players, and it's like, man, that they're going to be out for a year or whatever the case is. So it's always sad to see. But faith is, I think, the key and the glue to everything through all the highs and lows. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So to lighten things up, I want to hear, I guess, what do you guys do for fun? Like, what is Millie and Dustin on a weekend or off season? I should say, what do you guys do for fun? Movies, just with your dog, walking?
So, typically, we'll say off season. Typical off season for us, we like to, be at home in Texas. We love hosting, so we love to have dinners with our friends and family over at our house, have bonfires, and definitely just kind of we like to lay low, hang out with our dog Woody. Woody loves us being home and spending quality time, so we try to spoil him as much as possible, and then we usually try to do maybe one trip, like whether we go to Michigan or whether we all meet up to do a family trip, just so that we can get time with all the people that we kind of miss out on during the season. So we don't do anything too crazy. We just kind of like to be with our people and hang out.
I love that. And you mentioned earlier too, your community. How do you guys, um, do you guys FaceTime a lot? Do you FaceTime when he's playing at the game? How do you guys keep that communication going, especially from being from that distance?
We do FaceTime a lot of phone calls. Some of our relatives are older, so they're not um, really FaceTimers, but a lot of phone calls. And if I'm at the game and, Dustin's dad and grandma are home in Texas, I always try to send them as many videos as possible. I know that they are like glued to the TV, but sometimes it's nice when they can get like what the TV doesn't show, like maybe Dustin, warming up or in the bullpen or running out of the dugout. I try to send them as much as possible. We talk to them probably every single day. And then my sister actually lives just about an hour and a half away from us in California here. So she comes in as much as she can with the kids. And whatever time we can get with our people, we try to squeeze it all in, whether it's FaceTime, phone call, flying someone here. We try to do it all however we can.
I love that. Trying to keep it going and strong. And I heard you, I think it was one of the interviews that you guys did together during his recovery and therapy, but you mentioned you guys have like a sarcastic humor. Do you want to share about that? Because I love that.
Yeah.
My husband
So
and I have like something similar too. So
Dustin and I both have a pretty sarcastic or dry sense of humor. And I think usually my default, Dustin's like a little more stoic, I would call it, I guess, than I am. I'm probably a little more sillier than he is. If you've ever seen him, you can tell he's pretty, serious, pretty calm, chill all the time. But I feel like I bring the silliness out of him. Um, and I think that just helps us get through some rough times. I remember specifically when he got his elbow surgery and his arm was in a cast. One of the first things I said to him was, "Okay, so where do you want me to sign it?" Obviously, not going to sign it, and obviously teasing him. But it's just come down to like, you're going to be in this. If you're in you have an injury or you're in kind of a crappy situation, you're going to be in that situation regardless. So you can be in it and sit in the negativity and how much you don't want to be there. Or since you're in it anyway, you can find the silver lining and, try to make the best of it, maybe make a joke. I know it's not for everyone, but that's really how Dustin and I get by. We love to laugh and we definitely love a lot of sarcastic, silly jokes.
I love that because there's no other way to get through it. You know, you have to have some humor. You have to make something light and funny and positive out of any situation that's not. So I love that. So to wrap things up before we go, what's been the favorite ballpark you've been to?
Okay, so I was thinking about this because someone asked me recently and I didn't really have a great answer, surprisingly, because I love Dodger Stadium so much. I think it's so historical and I'm there so much, so it's comfortable. But I would have to say Tiger Stadium, Comerica Park, because um that was where I went to my first MLB game ever with my grandpa. We didn't go to a
Mm.
lot. I think I even living in Michigan, I think I'd only ever been there twice. But I just have really fond memories there, and I haven't gotten to see Dustin pitch there yet, but hopefully one day.
One day, that would be a super sweet moment, I think, for
Yes.
you. I love that. Your stadium
Oh,
has came out with a lot of foods lately. I told my husband, I don't know, I think that's a little too messy to sit. I'm just like old school. Just give me a soda or water with a hot dog. Like,
yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm the same way, a Dodger dog
Yeah.
all the way. I can't even tell you how many I've already eaten this season. And I really am not even at the games 24/7 because I normally, go maybe a couple in between and then when Dustin pitches, of course. But a Dodger dog through and through, I will eat one every single time.
Okay, so we'll bypass the the other menus. But have you had
Yeah.
any interesting, or how does the Dodger Dogs rank amongst other stadiums?
Oh,
Or is it just
that's
they all have their own flavor and their own style?
I do think the Dodger dog is number 1 for me, but, in Michigan and I don't know, probably a lot of other Midwest places, there's a hot dog brand called Kogel's hot dogs. Kogel's hot dogs are right up there with Dodger dogs. They're just as good. I don't think that they're served, um, at any MLB stadiums. I could be wrong, but a Kogel hot dog right next to a Dodger dog, and Kogel's my favorite, so they're really
Ooh,
good. Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to go fly over there
Yeah, fly to Michigan.
to try one. We actually have some friends, and they met at San Diego State. She was an old coworker that turned to friends, and her husband met at San Diego State, and because they're both not from here, but she's from Michigan, and so they
Oh,
flew
okay.
back, and now they're just there permanently with their family, raising kids. So I'm gonna have to ask her, like,
Yes.
Stephanie, can you ship me one?
Yep. Ask her about Kogel hot dogs and then, the Michigan brand cottage cheese. That's
Ooh,
so good, so
cottage
good.
cheese.
Yeah, but it's literally called Michigan cottage cheese. That's the
Oh,
brand.
really?
So yeah.
Wow, it's not like, "Go try the Michigan," it's, like, literally the brand, the name.
Yes.
Wow! So it has to be amazing if it's the state cottage cheese.
Yes, I have a lot of really good Midwest food, Rex,
Ooh,
if you're
let's hear
ever
it.
look
Yes.
There's, in my small town in Saginaw, there is, like, this famous bread, it's called Spatz bread, Spatz, and it's so hard to get because I think it's literally just in that area, and it's like a white bread, it's homemade, but it's, like, really airy, and they sell it, in some of the grocery stores there. That's also amazing too. If you're ever there, you have to try that as well.
Okay. I may have to ask you for more too, because we've been people think, "Oh, your husband's in education, you have all of these, like, vacation times." And
Right.
actually, no, he works through them.
Yep.
But in the summer, we have, like, maybe a couple of weeks. So we told ourselves we really wanna do a baseball stadium checkoff list.
Fun, yeah.
So that's kind of our thing, but he wants to start off on the East Coast and work his way, like, kind of drive down. A couple of people have told us how you can drive from stadium to
Mhm.
stadium. So that's what we're gonna be doing,
You
hopefully.
should totally do that. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, we both love sports. He actually grew up playing I don't he retired. I'll just say he retired at
Okay.
college.
Okay, okay.
He was a catcher, so he's always talking about, like, he his
Mhm.
little not a couch manager, but he he talks as a catcher of, "Oh, he's gonna throw this," or, "He's gonna throw that." So
Right, right.
it's always neat hearing him. Sometimes I wanna put, my phone to him and just record him. It's it's just so funny. So, where can people follow you and your journey on social
Yeah,
media?
so I have an Instagram. I think oh my gosh, I think my Instagram username is at a Millie May.
Okay.
Um, and I don't post like a ton of stuff about, you know, anything too um outside of baseball, but I do post a lot of baseball pictures and kind of what our dog's doing that day. So yeah.
It's the life of Millie.
Yeah, there you go. That should be my username, The Life of Millie
Yes.
May.
Yes. Definitely Millie May. You have to add that because that's so cute. So, thank you so much, Millie, for spending time with us. And I'm sure the listeners, especially Dodger fans, are going to so appreciate just having an insight of you as a supportive anchor wife to Dustin. And we wish him all the best and the best season ever because it's so needed. And I hardly ever share with people who I'm interviewing, but I share with my cousin who's like my brother. He's the one who indoctrinated. I'm from San Diego. He's from
Okay,
LA.
okay.
And so when people hear I'm a San Diego native that's a Dodger fan, it's like insulting to people. But I say I was converted at a young age, and he took me to my first baseball game and first, which was the Dodgers against the Padres, at a stadium that was torn down because it was
Mhm,
so old.
yeah.
But he said he wanted me to share with you. He has, can you see it? I don't know if you can,
Oh
it's
my
so bright.
gosh, is that a May jersey?
Yes, it's the
Oh, I love
Dustin May
that.
game. He says, "Tell Mrs. May we love Mr. May," and we bought his jersey on opening day, and it's
Oh,
the
that's so
Gold World
sweet.
Series player used or
Yeah.
player
Oh, I
issued.
love that.
I
Yeah.
know. So I said, "Okay, I'll let her know."
Yeah, well, tell him I said thank you so much for
I
supporting him. I
will.
always love to see. I don't obviously, I don't see a ton of May jerseys walking around the stadium, but when I do, it's always a really special thing. And I know Dustin's dad, like he would have tears in his eyes just even knowing that we're talking and that your brother has Dustin's jersey. So
Oh,
that's really
well,
cool. And I'll be sure to tell
And
him.
he's LAPD. His name's Ralph, so
Amazing.
I'm gonna let him know. But they're a very supportive police department. They travel. My husband and I will travel with them to Arizona Diamondbacks when they're playing against the Dodgers. They'll get a suite. They go all out.
Oh my gosh, that's
LAPD, they
awesome.
go all out. So we're always like, "We're in. Where are they going to this season?" And he's like, "I'll keep you posted." But yeah, they're big Dodger fans and so supportive. But so again, thank you so much for spending time with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to meet you.
You too. Thanks.